What up, my guys? Welcome to another show, man. Thursday NBA Talk with Jay here, man. We live. We got our guy Gilles Gallant here, man. Action from my guy, the prop god over here. Another prop god from Action Network, man. He's been banging these 3-point made props as well. I've been seeing them. I've been quietly checking you out, Gilly. So I know that you've been cashing these tickets, but your first time on the show, let everybody know about yourself, my guy.
Well, Jay, like, I don't think people understand. Like, you and I have been chatting, I mean, since 2018, I want to say.
Yep.
Like, I've been in the industry since 2017. You kind of showed up, I think, right around that same time. And we've always been talking hoops, you know, whether it be in the DMs or in the show chats or whatever else. So, yeah, my name is Gilles Gallant. I'm with the Action Network. Normally what I do is I actually cover a lot of NFL props, specifically touchdown props. I host a show every week called The Touchdown Show. But once the NFL season is over, I obviously like to get in back into the NBA. I played hoops growing up. You know, I used to bet NBA a lot. So generally, though, what happens during the NFL season, I'm sure that you know how it goes, is that once you get entrenched in the NFL, it becomes everything. Like, you can't go anywhere else. So, like, I would see highlights, you know, on NBA and whatever else. But I think one of the things, Jay, I was going to say that actually I think it might have been a benefit for me is because I was kind of keeping NBA off to the side for those 5 months. When I come back now here in February and after the All-Star break, I'm not as married to what I saw in October and November. Like, that was kind of what was happening to me in previous years, where I'd be watching NBA front to back. And then we get to like February and March, and I couldn't let go of what my eyes saw in November and December. And that's something that you kind of have to do, especially as guys are moving in and out of the lineups all the time. And, you know, that's one of the reasons why with sides and totals, I don't really play them as much during the season, because I find the numbers don't, like, at least the spreads don't necessarily represent the lineups that we're seeing on the floor, right? Like, you'll see a guy like go out where you feel he's probably worth more than 1 point to the spread, but it's actually, you know, 3-4 points that it's moving. So that's one of the reasons for me where with sides and totals, I tend to scale back and wait until we get to the playoffs where rotations are more consistent, minutes are more consistent. And as a result, especially now with guys going in and out of the lineup, a lot of opportunity for those periphery guys to be able to get some of those props, you know, assist props, point props, whatever. So I'll have a little bit of everything today going through each game.
Yeah, we appreciate it as well, man. And like I say, that's not my strong suit. I usually just look at sides. So I want to bring more people on the show that does totals and props as well, guys. So that's why you're seeing some new faces. Obviously, we're collaborating with Action Network. Go download the app, man. I don't know what you're doing. Well, I'm pretty sure most of the people in the chat have downloaded, but if you're not checking out Action Network app, man, there's a ton of guys over there. You got Gilles over there putting out some he's over there putting out plenty of props. We got everybody, our Stephen Keach, Joe Delera, a ton of guys over there putting out props. They got college basketball. Stucky's over there going crazy. College basketball, NFL. It's just what we do over there at Action Network, man. It's all free as well. But we're not here to waste your time, guys. We're finna go through every one of these games, let you know what we're liking, what bets we're liking. We're about to get out of here, let you guys go on about your day. First game up, guys. Let's go over here to the streets of Detroit in this one. Pistons getting 2.5 points at the house versus the Brooklyn Nets in this game. We obviously, I mean, what a shocker. No Ben Simmons for the rest of the year, man. I wish I didn't have to work for the rest of the season. So, no, I don't mind putting in work, but this is a double revenge spot for the Pistons in this one. They lost both matchups already this season. They lost 126 to 115 and then 118 to 112 as well in Detroit. That was a really close game, though. That's when the Pistons were on that long losing streak, and they almost beat the Nets outright. What do you think happens in this game, Gilles?
Yeah, Jay, like, honestly, like, this game to me, like, I was going to call it the toilet bowl kind of game, but this is like the shit stains in the bowl kind of game. Nice. Like, these teams are awful, dude. I mean, we already know where the Pistons are at. Like, their team is completely in disarray. Monty Williams has just completely ran this team into the ground. And for Brooklyn, I just don't know what they are. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you think that they're going to be better from a front court standpoint, but Claxton is kind of seeing his role reduced. I just can't really get a good feel on this team, especially as guys are going in and out of the lineup all the time. The guy that I actually am targeting in this game is somebody that has actually jumped in now and is actually getting back into his role similar to what he had with the Toronto Raptors, is Dennis Schroeder, because I'm actually looking at his assist line. And now I've gotten his assist line at 6.5. I've taken the over in the last 3 games, and he's hit this in each of the last 4 games. So, and it took a little bit of a while for him to find his role on the team after the trade. But one of the reasons why we like Schroeder as well is that this Pistons team, they're allowing the 4th most assists to guards just over the last 30 days. Now, typically when I've been playing the Schroeder line, it's around -120 to -125. It's about -130 right now. That's about right where I had it coined. So it's not exactly a ton of value, but I wouldn't knock it if you wanted to play it at -130. I'm just trying to wait till a little bit closer to tip off to see if we can get it at -120, but I might still end up playing it at -130 by the time we get to tip off. So Dennis Schroeder over 6.5 assists is the one that I like for Nets Pistons.
Yeah, he could be live here to possibly go for a double-double as well, man. So
no joke, man.
I could definitely see him getting into the double-digit range here for Dennis Schroeder over here. It's a tough game for me to figure out. I would like to lean towards the Pistons here, but it's a game that I don't really have a ton of confidence in. I mean, we know that the Pistons, like when they are trying to win games, so you have to give them that credit. But remember, this is a tanking team, right? And this is a game that they would basically have to win for them to cover the spread. So I see a lot of Pistons love in the chat. I wouldn't be surprised if they got it done at the house. Their win total projection was updated was at 14.5, which would mean that the books even think that they're going to win 5 more games, right? I looked at the schedule. This would be, I know that under 14.5 is nice, but this would be one of their winnable games. But does it give me a ton of confidence in betting it? Hell no, man. Hell no. So I'd lean towards the Pistons here, but I do like that Schroeder over assist look over there for the Nets for you. I wouldn't be surprised if he went for a double-double in this particular game. Shout out to Rico in the chat as well, my guys. Shout out to you guys as well.
And I will say this too about Schroeder, if anybody has watched him over the last few games, he is a bit of a slow starter as well. There's one of them, maybe even a live in-game opportunity, because in those games where he has topped those assist marks, he hasn't had more than 4 assists in the first half, and then he ends up finishing with like 5 to 6 assists in the second half. So that's why I was going to say is that maybe what you could do is if he starts off slow and then you're seeing the total of that assist line down to like 3.5 or something, or 4.5, you might be able to jump in around halftime and scoop that up. So I just wanted to put that out there that in the second half of those games is when he's really started to pick it up.
That's a really good point there, because you can live bet assists, and if he's not looking good at first, and you might even catch a 5.5 or something like that. So that's a really good look there on the books that let you live bet props, guys. Let's head over here to the next game. Let's go over to the streets of Indiana in this one. Pacers land a 1.5 at the house versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. Man, somewhat kind of devastating news for the Wolves. I'm not really sure how they're going to take it. Now, even before Cat was hurt, he's out for the year. They didn't say he's out for the year. I mean, obviously, if the Wolves will end up making
it's torn meniscus. It's just like Embiid, right? Like I don't know if it's as extreme. Embiid is supposed to be back before the end of the season, and now usually with a torn meniscus, that's usually especially for a guy his size, that's usually like a death sentence for the season. Usually he's done, but I'd imagine he's going to rehab like hell. He might be back by the playoffs, but yeah, this is really going to open things up for some other guys in the front court, because the one thing about Cat is, even though he is obviously going to play some center minutes, a lot of the time when they are out there, both him and Gobert, he is going to be considered a forward. And this was a prime matchup for him, because the Pacers over the last 30 days, bottom 5 in points and rebounds to opposing forwards. So this would have been the double-double game for Towns if you were looking at it. Now that he's out, we're waiting to see more players come back on the board, guys like Naz Reid or Kyle Anderson, guys who are going to have to fill in those 35 to 37 minutes a game. So once those open up, I'd be looking at their points and rebounds props for either Naz Reid or Kyle Anderson. But if you're looking for just a 3-point prop, man, I think we got to do Mike Conley. Mike Conley, the threes right now, it's over 2.5 3-pointers. It's at plus 125 at some books. So one of the things I like to look at is who performs better when guys are out. So like Karl Anthony Towns this year, been actually a pretty good health bet. He's only missed 2 games all year. But in the 2 games that he did miss, Mike Conley has picked up the offensive slack. He's hit at least 3 3-pointers in both of those games. Conley is an Indiana guy for what that's worth, if you believe in him coming home and being able to play in front of some of his fans as well. But the Pacers, they allow the 3rd most points. They're bottom 5 in opponent 3-point percentage. Conley shoots 46% from 3-point in road games. Nearly 60% of all of his shots come from 3-point range. So if I'm looking at anybody in this game, especially where you're seeing like Anthony Edwards' point line, like up to like 31.5 now, I'd be looking at Mike Conley instead to pick up the slack offensively for 3-point range. Over 2.5 3-pointers at plus 125 is the bet that I'd look at for T-Wolves Pacers.
That's a good look there because we know that Conley's going to put him up as well. So, yeah, be interested to see what happens with Cat. They hadn't ruled him out for the season, but obviously with anything like that, with a meniscus with the knee, he's probably done for the season. And I mean, I don't necessarily – the Wolves could possibly get to the finals, but I don't really see it, especially without a full squad. They need Karl-Anthony Towns. They've beaten the Pacers 5 straight times. They've covered 5 straight as well versus the Pacers, but the Wolves are kind of down in the dumps right now. They had a 7-game win. They had a 7-game homestand, and they went 4-3 straight up, but were 1-6 against the spread and didn't cover versus teams like the Memphis Grizzlies, the San Antonio Spurs. They lost to the Kings without De'Aaron Fox. They didn't cover versus the Blazers as well. So the Wolves have kind of sort of been limping here. They are off 2 days of rest, but you also got to wonder what's their mindset without having Karl-Anthony Towns out there. So, but we always say without the first game without their player can usually be a turn up spot. It's like after that, how are they going to look? But this is a tough game for me, especially without Towns. I can see it going either way. Then on the other side, Benedict Mathurin for the Pacers. He's the type of guy that doesn't really show up like as far as like moving the point spread, but he does mean a lot for the team, whether he's starting or coming off the bench there. So the Pacers, it's really hard to figure out what they're going to do. They did bounce back versus the Mavs and smack them boys up 137-120, but the Mavs don't play defense. The Wolves are going to play some defense here. But it's going to be a really great game to watch, a really great game to live bet, in my opinion, in this one. I think that this could be like a game where they're trading blows, and you could probably get plus money with either team if you bet this on live. But our guy Gilles in the chat, liking the over 2.5 for the Michael Conley threes in this one, my guys.
Well, it's wild, too, that you had just mentioned that they had won and covered 5 straight, yet the Pacers are favored at home by 1.5. And what's crazy is this Timberwolves team. I mean, I was thinking they were probably going to get close to a 1 seed in the West. I'm not sure if that's going to happen now, especially with the fact that they've got 3 games against the Nuggets coming up here over the next 6 weeks. So I'm not going to say that the Towns injury is enough to really take them all the way down, but at the same time, it's tough to think of how they're going to get out of the West now with how strong the West is this year.
Yep, that's a fact, man. Talking about another team in the West, let's go over to the streets of Dallas in this one. Mavs laying 4.5 points at the house versus the Heat in this one. Now, if you wonder, obviously, if we look at this line, we say, what the hell are the Mavs doing laying 4.5 points here? The Heat have been hot, and the Mavs have not. They're 1-5 straight up in their last 6 games. They have not been playing good basketball. Whereas you look at the Heat, they're 8-2 straight up in and against the spread in their last 10 games here. We'd have to argue that this line doesn't necessarily make sense, but usually when the odds makers put out a line like this, it's almost like they're baiting you to take the underdog here. It's almost like the Heat could possibly be a public underdog in this one. We saw that the Mavs were pissed off. Luka throwing a little tantrum over on the bench as well, throwing water bottles. So this team has been preaching defense. I kind of feel like this might be like an under type of game. It's really hard to trust the Mavs and under, but I feel like that they might pay a little bit more attention to defense in this one. We know that the Heat are going to bring some defense as well. But are there any 3-point props that you possibly like in this game?
Well, there is one prop that I like, but I just wanted to talk about this matchup a little bit more because this line opened at Mavs 5.5, and it's now down to 4.5. And you're essentially seeing that what you just mentioned, that very public dog is Miami Heat, especially since they're 8-2 straight up in their last 10. I mean, I can't think of a more motivating spot for the Mavs after dropping 5 of the last 6 and giving up over 120 points in each game since the All-Star break. And the Mavs, I mean, I'm not saying the Heat don't need this game, but the Mavs need this game way more than the Heat right now because they've got the Warriors and Lakers right behind them in the West standings, a game back. and 6 of their next 10 games are against teams below 500. So they need this game to be able to just kind of keep pace with how the Warriors are surging. The Lakers, they're the Lakers. You know, maybe we might see them surge again here in April to be able to get that spot here. But for me, from a player prop standpoint, Jay, I'm going with Caleb Martin. So secondary player here. It's over 9.5 points. I grabbed it at -120. Now, Caleb Martin has really kind of started to take on a secondary scoring role, especially tonight. Josh Richardson's out, Tyler Harrow's out, Kevin Love is all out. So there's just a lot more scoring opportunity. And when you look at how the Heat have performed, specifically Caleb Martin in the 3 games this year where those 3 did not play, he has scored 10 points in each of those games. Since the All-Star break, his point scoring output has increased. He's averaging over 13 points per game in the 6 games since the All-Star break. Also, from a 3-point prop standpoint, this is why when you asked me, did you like a 3-point prop? I actually like Caleb Martin's point prop at 9.5 more than if I was to take his 3-point prop, which is at about even money for over 1.5, because for what it's worth, again, he's hit at least 2 3-pointers in 5 or 6 games since the break, since he's now started to have a little bit more of a scoring role. But I think at 9.5 points, I think that's the safer bet here, especially when you're looking at the fact that if he gets 2 threes, he's probably going to go over this 10-point total anyway. Right. So I would buy the dip there. I would take the 9.5 points. I would buy it at -120 instead of taking over 1.5 threes at even odds.
I like that. My guy's liking Caleb Martin over his 9.5 points. Yeah, it's a tough game for me. Like I say, knee-jerk reaction. You say, "Oh, we take the Heat here easy," but like this line is where it's at for a reason, guys. The Heat are not going to cover every single game, and it looks super fishy here, to be perfectly honest. Even though the line opened up at 5 and went down to 4.5, it's crazy to say, but I still feel like that the Mavs might end up putting it together in this particular game. Obviously, they always got beef with the Heat. They lost their first finals matchup in 2006. Then Dirk and the boys end up getting the job done in 6 games in 2011. Man, I was so fucking hyped for that shit. But yeah, I think that this could be a game where this is I love betting against a public underdog, and it looks like the Heat might be that public underdog of the day today. I'd lean towards Mavs first half and full game here, even though they haven't been playing any defense. Obviously, offensively, they could get things done. And when you're coming off of such a frustrating game like that, like this is a fast-paced Pacers team that can run you off the floor. The Heat are going to play slow and methodical, and maybe that's a little bit better for the Mavs to go back and set up their defense. Remember, they got Lively back and they got Gafford coming off the bench. They just got to put these things together, and Luka got to at least try to play some defense. But I wouldn't be a bit surprised if the Mavs took everybody's money today and covered the first half in the full game.
So Jay,
to the streets of Phoenix.
Well, before we go to Phoenix, I wanted to ask you then. So, Jay, you just said that you lean to Mavs first half and full game. I want to know, is this going to be the patented Smack City type of we will win where you take first quarter, first half, and full game on the spread? Because right now, Mavs are 1.5 on the first quarter, 2.5 in the half, and then 4.5 full game. And if we're looking at fading the public on a full front there, would you want to do the first quarter, first half, full game line? Or were you thinking, let's just do first half and full game if I was going to.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, I didn't bet the game. So I lean towards Mavs, but no, I wouldn't. I don't take any first quarters anymore. I hadn't had a trifecta spot in a while. Yeah, I don't take first quarters anymore, but I would still look towards the first half and full game. Now, obviously, the Mavs don't give me a ton of confidence. Like usually when I come on here and have a ton of confidence, like with the Pelicans in the last game versus the Raptors, I was like, all right, this is a Smack City spot here. They're going to come out here and smoke them, and that's exactly what they did. The Mavs, I still think that they're going to take everybody's money, but it's not a game that I felt super comfortable with betting, to be honest with you, especially with the form that the Heat are in lately. You see what I'm saying? But let's go over to the next game. Let's go over to the streets of Phoenix in this one. Suns land 10 points at the house versus the Toronto Raptors. The total has actually went up to 233 in this one. It's actually touching 234. I wonder if maybe Nurkic is out or something like that in this game. The reason why the total's going up, I'd still be looking at under for the team total under for the Raptors in this one. Oh my God, what do you think about in this game? Any 3-point props in this one? Maybe like a Royce O'Neal or something like that.
Well, before I wanted to ask you your question about the Raptors, because one of the things about the Action app is you could set notifications to people that you follow to see when they place bets. Mm-hmm. And I got a notification. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, where you took under 30.5 on the win total for the
Yeah.
Raptors. And I'm wondering, is that partially because of the Scotty Barnes injury? Because I'll be honest with you, as a Raptors fan, as somebody who's watched this team year in, year out since 1995, this is one of the worst Raptors teams I could think of in a while. They look like garbage, man. And especially, I think people are really underestimating how much of an impact Scotty Barnes has. Less offensively, but more defensively, especially on the perimeter. The Raptors now, over the last 30 days, have allowed the most points to guards. And since the All-Star break, they have not been good at all in 2 or 3 games now without Devin Booker as well. This is a guy, I'm not going to be betting his 3-point prop. I'm going to actually be betting Bradley Beal over 20.5 points in this game, because Bradley Beal looked pretty good against Denver, but Denver's defense much better than what the Raptors will put on the floor. Much tougher matchup. This one, he is at 20.5. He's actually scored over 20 points in 2 of the 3 games that Devin Booker didn't play. The only one that he didn't score over 20 points was the last game against Denver. So to me, this Raptors team is just trash. Like, I almost considered taking Suns -10 because that's how bad Toronto has looked over the last month. Now, the only other angle I would consider is Emmanuel Quickly, and I'd be looking at a double-double around plus 300. So since Scotty Barnes got hurt, he's got 2 double-doubles. The only issue I worry about, and this is kind of why I was considering Suns -10, is I'm worried the Raptors are going to get blown out and Emmanuel Quickly doesn't even end up playing the fourth quarter, because
it's very possible.
There could be a stage here where you're sitting there with Emmanuel Quickly. You have 8 assists, third quarter's over. They're down by 20. That lead stays to 20 to 25 midway through the fourth quarter. And they just say, nah, like, you know what I mean? They're just like, nah, we're not putting starters back in, and we're just going to ride Grady Dick and the rest of these guys. And then you're sitting there with a lost double-double ticket that looked on pace to go over that very easily. So Emmanuel Quickly double-double, maybe if you want to look at his assists around 7.5, I would consider that. But I think if you're just going to go the 7.5, you go a double-double with Quickly and just move on. Or you go with what I was originally, my best bet for this game is Bradley Beal over 20.5 points for the Suns.
Yeah, I couldn't talk you off looking at some Bradley Beal props in this one. He's definitely starting to get a lot more comfortable as well. He say he has his legs up under him. It's him and KD out there, man. So, but to answer a question about the Raptors, yeah, I had to bet their win season total under.
Awful,
I knew that Scotty Barnes was going to be out for a while, and then Jakob Poeltl had surgery as well. It's like there's no rush to get these guys back. It's time to look towards next year for the Raptors. They're going to continue. Like, please give Grady Dick 30, 40 minutes, please. Play him all that you can as well, man. So, and then even Agbaji got hurt last game as well. So it is just time for the Raptors to look towards next year to try to get the best draft pick as possible. This is a team that I'm only looking towards fading for the rest of the season.
Well, the one thing I would say, Jay, is Toronto's draft pick. That's actually owed to San Antonio. Now it's top 6 protected. I think top 6 or top 7. I can't remember. Yeah. But the point is that they don't have incentive to lose, but they just don't have the players to win. Like, so that's the whole point. Like, I'm with you on that front, but also at the same time, they're motivated to win. They just, like, not all dogs are created equal. They're going to probably lose very heavily here in Phoenix.
Yeah, no, it's a fact there. Yeah, I'm not looking toward. I think Raptors team total under is the way to go with anybody, with any team that has a pulse. Then the Suns defense has been working, guys. This is the number 8th defensive rated team in the last 5 games in the NBA, guys. So I'd still lean towards Raptors team total under in this one. We got to speed it up just a tad here. We got 3 more games to get through about 7 minutes here. Let's go over to the streets of Denver in this one. Nuggets laying a point at the house versus the Boston Celtics in this one. I think this is the Celtics' first game all year being the underdog game. Obviously, I'm going to this game as well. I can't fucking wait, man. Can't wait, man. But Jaylen Brown is questionable in this one with the tailbone or something like that. But I still lean towards Celtics here in the first half. I lean their way in the full game as well. But this is a bounce back J spot for the Celtics. They were down 22 points in that fourth quarter, and they were up 22 points versus the Cavs in the fourth quarter. Ended up losing that game outright. Probably looking ahead to this game, and they have a revenge. This is a revenge game J spot as well. So bounce back J spot and revenge game J. They lost 102 to 100 January 19th in Boston, and the Nuggets came in there and and stop their undefeated home streak there. So this is a big spot for the Celtics to show that they're one of the best teams, or if not the best team in the NBA. I think they come out here and send a message. I would be looking at Boston Celtics first half money line. They're 10-2 in the first half, straight up, coming off a loss, and they're 10-1 straight up in their last 11 games, coming off a loss as well in the first half. 11-1 straight up as well so far coming off. They've only lost back-to-back games once all year, and that was November 8th, November 9th. I feel like the Celtics come out here and send a message. I like the Celtics here in the first half on the money line. What do you think about this game? And I feel like Derek White threes, over 2.5 threes at plus money is a really good look here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want the Celtics to actually push the pace and be strong against this team on the road, because that's going to lead to Jokic to have to force the issue a little bit and try to score on this team. And that's kind of why I like Jokic, but I like Jokic over 34.5 points and assists. I like his triple-double too at plus 180, but I think the points and assists is a solid look here at 34.5. Mainly because, like, he topped that number when they played them earlier in the year, but the matchup against Porzingis, he has just diced him up in faced heads-up commentary. So he's got at least 35 points and assists in 5 straight games when he's played against Zinger. So that would be, either against Boston or in Washington. So our own Joe Dallaire at Action Network, he's on that as well. So I tailed him on this prop. I think that's a solid look. The other one that I would consider, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope 3-point prop, is very, very interesting because it's at 1.5. The over is around minus 125. And the Celtics, low key, they allow a ton of 3-point attempts. That doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad defense. It's just that, like, their opponent 3-point percentage is around 34%. That's top 5 in the NBA, but they're also bottom 5 in the NBA in 3-point attempts. So part of the reason why I look at that is, for me, it's just about volume and less about efficiency. And Caldwell-Pope, he's hit this in 4 of the last 5 home games. He shoots 45% from 3 at home. And Jokic and Murray, that pick and roll is just going to draw so much attention that I could see Murray coming off the pick and roll and just swinging it over to KCP in the corner for 3 very easily against his team. So KCP over 1.5 3-pointers at minus 130 would be the 3-point prop that I would look at in this game. Although I do like Derek White as well. I just think KCP, the 1.5 line, is a little more attractive for a starter as opposed to when you're looking at 2.5 for a starter. And then, of course, Jokic 34.5 points and assists, because I think Jokic is going to have to assert himself in this game if they want to keep pace, because of that motivation and revenge factor that you had mentioned about what Boston's going to be coming in here with. So I think Jokic is going to have a big game for them to keep it close. And that's why I like banking on the points and assists for that.
No, that's a really good point there. I couldn't talk you off KCP over his 1.5 threes. He's definitely going to be an important part to the Nuggets in this one if they're going to have some success. I still feel it's a Celtics game though, man. And I do think that Celtics in the first half is the better spot as well. Obviously, they're playing in altitude. Obviously, sometimes in the fourth quarter, they can really start to get stagnant. And that's where the Nuggets come back as well. But really would like to have Jaylen Brown out there. I hadn't bet this game yet. I'm kind of waiting on the Brown news. Obviously, if he's in, it'll go back to Celtics minus 1, which you can still get around the same price for Celtics first half, or even take like minus a half or something like that. But if he's out, this line is going to go to at least Nuggets minus 3, and then you'll definitely get even plus money whether you like the full game or the first half here. So kind of waiting on Jaylen Brown's status. I hope he really plays. I hope everybody plays here, or I'm going to be bitching towards the NBA for my money back in this one. But I definitely like that KCP over his threes, and then Derek White over 2.5 at plus money is a really good look here. All right, couple more games here, my guy. A couple more games here. Let's go over to the streets of Golden State in this one. Warriors land 8 points at the house versus the Chicago Bulls. Both of these teams took care of us last night. I had Bulls on the money line. The late line was 3.5, but it is what it is. They should have covered that one as well. Warriors absolutely smacked down versus the Bucks. They need to win all of these games. Bulls coming off a 3rd and 4 back-to-back, coming from Utah as well. What do you think about this game? Any 3-point props in this one?
3-point props, not as much, man. But you know what's funny is that this is a horrible matchup for Chicago because they give up the most threes overall over the last 30 days. And they're like 2 or 3 more threes than the next team, the 29th team. You know what I mean? So this is a horrible matchup for them, especially facing a team that is very 3-point centric. When you have a Steph Curry line at 5.5, that's probably meaning that he's going to have about 12 3-point attempts in this game to get there. So Instead, I was kind of moving away from the 3-point prop in this game because they're a lot like the Golden State Warriors are a lot like the Kansas City Chiefs in the NFL when it comes to touchdown props. Everything is premium on them. So if you want to be able to bet like Steph Curry overs or Klay Thompson overs on 3-point props, you're going to have to pay a little bit of a premium to take the over on those. So instead, I would rather look at a point prop for Jonathan Kuminga. Jonathan Kuminga has really picked it up over the last month. His point prop is around 16.5. It might be up to 17.5 now. I would try to get to 16.5 if it's out there. But earlier this year when they played the Bulls, he scored 24 from the bench and now is starting, averaging to about just under 17 points as a starter. I imagine that he is going to, especially on the second game of a back-to-back, probably have to play a little bit more minutes maybe than some of those secondary guys because he is one of those younger players. So Jonathan Kuminga over 16.5 points is somebody who I'd be looking at right now for the Golden State Warriors.
I like it. That's a really good look. And the Warriors have basically owned the Bulls as well. They've won 9 of the last 10 games and covered 8 of the last 10 as well. And so we know that the Warriors, they need every single game. They need every single game. So I don't know if they're going to cover or not, but they definitely need to win this game to try to get to their playoff hopes. But yeah, I don't really have anything in this one. I really like that Jonathan Kuminga look, though, in that one. Last game up, let's go over to the streets of Sacramento in this one. No Wemby in this game. Kings laying 11.5 points at the house off a back-to-back, coming off of a huge win versus the Lakers, man. Lakers are up 17 early in that one. It didn't matter. The Kings end up smoking their ass, man. So no Wemby. There's not a ton of paint protection for the Spurs without him. The Kings have won 7 of their last 8 matchups versus the Spurs and 6-2 against the spread as well. Are there any 3-point props that you're looking at in this one? Maybe looking at like a Keegan Murray, looking at a Sabonis to have a great game down low with no Wemby, or maybe even Fox once again to like these guys love getting into the paint. And if you don't have a real paint protector, Fox and Sabonis can absolutely eat you up. Malik Monk is building his 6-man-a-year case every single game as well. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, I mean, Keegan Murray's 3-point prop about 2.5 line. It's plus 140 to the over. Malik Monk, like pretty much every single guy on the Kings because of that is through the roof as far as like it's basically like a premium for the Warriors. So instead, I'm just going to keep it super simple. You mentioned it right off the hop. There's no Wemby, so that means I'm going right to the Sabonis. I'm going to take his triple-double. It's around plus 215. He leads the NBA with 24 triple-doubles. He had one yesterday against the Lakers. And the Spurs, they give up the most points of rebounds to centers, and that's with Wemby in the lineup. Now you take Wemby out, it's going to be pretty much Sabonis free-for-all for him. So I think right now, especially with the fact that his double-double is around minus 250, you could look at his points, rebounds, assist line. I think it's just smarter just to look at the triple-double at plus 215. I'm likely going to put a half unit on that.
I like it. Yeah, Fox went for 44 points last night, man. And Malik Monk, he's building this. I gave out on the future, so Malik Monk to win 6-man a year, man. And he's up to, I know it's like at minus 110. He's getting up there now, man. And he had 26 points last night, played 32 minutes. They're really gunning for him to get that 6-man a year, and I really think he's going to get it. His points prop is at 16.5 tonight, and I think that they might continue to ride him and try to get him 20 points or more every single night, man. So, but that's a bonus triple-double. He's gotten a double-double in like 40-something straight games, so you just need him to get over the hump and get that triple-double. That's a really good look there, especially at the price as well, plus 215, man. But let's recap the looks, man. It's time to get out of here. We went through every game. We let you guys know our best looks on the game as well. I ain't gonna lie, I hadn't bet anything so far, but I am heavily leaning towards Celtics. Like my top plays would be Celtics in the first half, just waiting on Jaylen Brown news, because I think if he's out, it's really gonna move the line. If he's in, it probably just goes back to Celtics minus 1.5. But I think Celtics in the first half, that's where they come out smoking, like to try to send a message here. And I'd still heavily lean towards the Raptors team total under in this one once again, my guy. What do you think? What are your best looks of the day? You can say your leans, your official plays, whatever you like, my brother.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm still looking at Conley, Caleb Martin over 9.5 points, and definitely Jokic over 34.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And then I also took Bradley Beal over 20.5 points.
I like it. Those are some good looks there. And you like Kuminga as well, right?
I do. Yeah, that one, again, it's more about the line. I like it at 16.5. If it's at 17.5, I want plus money for it if I'm going to bet it.
Right, that's a fact there, man. Great looks, man. We're gonna have more guys. We're gonna have our guy Keach come on the show. Our guy Gil, I'm gonna call him GG, man. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
you can
saying?
call
I like
me 5,000.
G-Dog. Yeah, we call our guy G-Dog. Come on the show, man. Props to Joe Delera. We'll have all these guys come on there because obviously you guys know I don't do a ton of props, man. So gotta bring people on the show and just try to give you guys all different type of looks. We're gonna have some total guys coming on the show, man. We're gonna have this show is gonna be simulcast to Action Network as well. So y'all go download the app, man. It's a lot of new things coming. It's all free. Go download the Action Network app right now, man. It's all love. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. I got my green on today. I'm going to the Celtics Nuggets game. I can't fucking wait, man. It's all love. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. Best of luck. Whatever you guys are betting today, type "we will win" in the chat. Let's get this cash. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. And also go follow my guy on Twitter as well at GDog5000 and go follow him on the Action Network app. This is the touchdown god right here, man. I'm telling you, man. So we appreciate everybody for tuning in. We out. Hope y'all have a great day. Let's get some cash, baby. We out. Let's go.